Poland has called on the European Union to penalise countries that pay for Russian gas in rubles. It follows reports that some European energy firms are preparing to comply with President Putin's demands.
Critics say Moscow's payment system will undermine EU sanctions, threaten the EU's unity and deliver billions in cash to Russia's war effort. Russia's move to cut supplies to Poland and Bulgaria has added new urgency to Europe's plans to end dependence on Moscow. Our business correspondent Juliet Mann has the story. Juliet.
Thanks, Jamie and Robin. Well, if Vladimir Putin was looking for a pretext to cut off countries that have supported Ukraine, their refusal to pay for future supplies in rubles rather than the standard dollars or euros, could be it. Now, as we've told you many times before, Russia is the largest supplier of energy to Europe, providing 40% of Europe's gas and 25% of its oil at a cost of $850 million a day. Now, analysts say a total energy cut-off, gas and oil, would throw Europe into a recession. The Bruegel think tank says Europe would be 10 to 15% short of its usual supplies to meet next winter's heating demands. The situation is serious enough that Germany has declared an early warning of an energy emergency. Now, Poland is further along reducing its reliance on Russia and says for now they're not concerned about the embargo. Russia is still sending gas to Germany, Austria, Hungary and Slovakia, where some of Europe's largest energy companies are reportedly preparing to use the new payment system for Russian gas demanded by the Kremlin, including Austria's OMV and Germany's Uniper, which has just confirmed it will switch to paying in rubles. Italy's Eni, another of Gazprom's large customers, is also reportedly evaluating its options. But you know what? Cutting off Europe's natural gas doesn't benefit Russia either. Gazprom already sells 80% of its foreign earnings for rubles, making the boost to Russia's currency minimal. Now, Russia has continued to profit from its stranglehold over Europe's energy supply. In the past 2 months, so since the start of the invasion, EU imports of Russian fossil fuels were worth about $46 billion, so 71% of overall exports. A report by the Centre for Research on Energy and Clean Air says an increase in prices is what's offset any reduction in volume. Well, Lauri Myllyvirta is the lead analyst behind the report.
So from tracking Russia's fossil fuel exports over the past 2 months, we estimate that the total value of coal, oil, gas exported was $67 billion, which is more than a doubling from the same period last year because of the very high fossil fuel prices. And so that has resulted in a big windfall for Russia, in spite of the attempts of many countries and many buyers to switch away from Russia in response to the invasion of Ukraine.
So you talk about a windfall. I mean, to be clear, if fossil fuels are funding Russia's war chest, which companies, which countries are paying for it?
The European Union was responsible for 70% of these imports, so worth about $46 billion over this 2-month period. Germany was by far the biggest importer among these countries, followed by Italy and then by China. In terms of companies, because of the very high gas prices, it's really the biggest gas importers that are also the largest companies behind these staggering sums. Major gas utilities in Europe, such as Uniper, RWE, are going to be some of the biggest ones. We also found out that many of the major international oil companies, such as Shell and BP and Total, were still doing business in these fuels.
You talk about that EU reliance on Russian energy. They've pledged to reduce it by 2/3 by about 2027. Individual countries are also working at different paces to reduce their reliance on Russian oil and gas. How realistic are all of those goals, especially when it comes to replacing supplies with alternatives?
If you look at the EU's response in terms of changing energy plans, the increased ambition for renewable energy in many countries, in some countries for nuclear power, for energy efficiency is very impressive. And over the next 3-4 years, that is going to make a big difference if those ambitions are realized. The main problem that we're highlighting with the report is that in terms of resolving this crisis, we don't have years. So it's also important to take action that affects Russia's export revenues now and creates pressure on Russia to resolve this crisis.
So, bringing it to the here and now, what could change this picture?
The EU is currently debating an oil embargo. That would make a big difference and should certainly be on the table. Over this year, the EU is also looking to import more from other sources, but because of the gravity of the situation, we do also need to talk about saving energy, so simply reducing consumption. This would help lower the prices, which this would create more pressure on Russia, and it would also alleviate the burden on those low and middle income countries that are being affected by the high prices.
So save energy, find alternatives, and maybe an embargo on oil. That was Lauri Myllyvirta from the Centre for Energy and Clean Air. Jamie Norton, back to you.